I'm going to start with you laughing, so then people will wonder what was just said. I think that's perfect.
Giggity goo.
Uh,
I
Tim
would.
Ellis, Brad Blair. The last time we decided to do an impromptu video call like this was COVID.
Oh yeah.
There was a lot of beer involved, I remember.
So this is what happened. True story. I've told it before, but not in this format. Behind the Zine, number 5, by the way. Thank you both for being here.
Yes.
Tim Ellis and Brad Blair. So COVID had hit, and we'd been locked in for like a week or two at this point. And I texted you guys and I said, "Do you guys want to get a beer tonight?" And you both wrote back, "Yes." How? Right? Like, how do we do this? And I said, "I don't know. I think we could just live stream us having drinks." And that's what we did. And the speakeasy was born. We just started drinking socially with everyone watching.
I remember that. I do. I remember that fondly.
As opposed to drinking professionally, as we usually do here in the UP.
Right. And the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, you do the same thing. It's just a smaller audience.
Right.
Right. Yes.
Right. You have to be there. It's like a live show instead of a live stream. So not much has changed. There's just no cameras.
Right.
So anyway, so you guys have known each other kindergarten? Is that correct? Is that where you met?
Yeah,
Pretty
somewhere around
much.
there.
Kindergarten, first grade, right in there. First grade for sure. We've got the picture to prove it.
I've
Yes.
seen the picture, yeah, of
Yes.
you guys in first grade and
Uh,
like half your team, the Upper
yeah. Yeah.
That'd
You're
be
right.
me.
Peninsula guys. Um, so I first met you guys because you both run along with your team, the Michigan Paracon, MI Paracon, and Sault Ste. Marie. And I've been to most of them. I think I missed the first one and one other. And it is always such a blast, such a party. We've had the chance to become friends over the years and hang out, and just to see the bash you guys throw and how much you love the subject, but also love the people. So, how did the team form? Like, what? How did I know? Like, I've seen the first grade photo where you guys circle like 5 different people,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
Yes.
the
Steve LaPlante and Lance Brown were in there with us. So
Yeah.
yeah. We were the creepy kids in school. We loved going off to the side in the playground, telling ghost stories. We'd be off on our bikes, and if there was an abandoned house somewhere, hey, did you hear there's a baby that cries in that basement at night? And we'd feed each other's imagination. None of us grew up in haunted houses. None of us had this great experience as children that forced us over into the paranormal. It was almost a lifestyle for us from the early ages on.
Yeah, it
yeah.
really was. And the birds of a feather kind of thing. We found each other real quick at a young age and realized that we were the ones who loved that kind of stuff, where most of the kids at that age really didn't care for it. It scared them. They didn't want much to do with it. So we kind of formed our own little rat pack, and we've been together since.
Yeah.
So for those who don't understand Upper Peninsula culture, I understand it a little just because I've been there so many times. But
Right.
so Michigan, of course, is the hand, but then the UP is above it, right?
Hmm.
And
Very good.
and there's a big long bridge that connects the two, and they call you people Yoopers,
Right.
Yoopers, but it's really Upper Peninsula people, UP Yoopers,
Yeah.
right? So
Correct.
what do you
Yes.
call people who live in southern Michigan?
Trolls.
Those would be the trolls.
They
They
live
live
under the bridge.
Yes.
under the bridge, trolls. What's the
Yeah.
cultural difference? Having been to both, I mean, I have my own, but you guys live it. So what's
The
what?
amount of beer consumed.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a gray area when you get just under the bridge and you're still in northern lower Michigan. A lot of outdoors lifestyle. People are really into the natural resources of the area. It's a lot more laid back lifestyle up north, I guess.
Mhm.
We don't tend to stress over many things. You get down south in Michigan, and that's where your big cities are, your Detroit, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Ann Arbor. Up here, we're a third of Michigan's landmass, but only 3% of the state's population actually lives in the UP.
Yeah, so that's why we have a better chance of seeing a Bigfoot up here than a celebrity, which he's a celebrity in his own rights, but we love the pace of life up here, and it really is that. It's a pace of life. It is a lifestyle compared to the Grand Rapids or the Detroits or the Lansing, which we love to get to for the weekend. We love
Sure,
to go
yeah,
in and catch a concert or a sporting event, but then we like to get the hell out of there and back
yeah.
to the UP.
Yeah.
Having flown over it, flying up from Detroit to Sault
Mhm.
Ste. Marie. There's a lot of woods, a lot of forest, a lot of
Yeah,
bodies of water besides just the Great Lakes, but a lot of places for Bigfoot to hide.
right.
And you guys, it's the stories in the zine. You guys actually got to investigate a Bigfoot photo, sighting, and print. There's a
Mhm.
picture of Tim holding up the cast of the and Brad, would you mind sharing the name of your lake cabin?
Sasquatch Shores. That's where
Sasquatch
I
Show.
am every viable weekend of the summer. Winter, it's a little bit remote and hard to get to, depending if the roads are cleared or not. But we usually stick close to the homestead in the winter months. But right now, I mean, anytime Friday when I'm out of work, I'm gone there for the weekend. So it's where I can relax and settle the soul in.
Tell me about any weird sightings you've had around your
So
cabin.
there's the Sid, if we can see it.
You can't
Not
see it.
working
There
because
it
of
is.
your
He's done
funky
blurred it out.
background. Oh yeah, there's
It's
Tim.
right
Yeah, look at
there.
him. Hold on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Jeff can do this in post.
Yes.
No, I like the ghetto version. I like the just. I think it's great. It's
Hey, way
great.
to go.
You're right there.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, actually, the back cover, the back, we're right behind you, right? That's your view, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
No,
That's his cabin behind us.
that is the view off of my dock, and it's a great place. It's off a very small town in northern Michigan, even smaller than Sault Ste. Marie, just a little village. And we're even a mile and a half down a dirt private road, and it's very remote. You hear interesting things at night. We've heard a few howls here and there that you get to know the sounds of coyotes and wolves up this way, and every now and then there's something that doesn't quite fit in with the regular nature sounds that you expect to hear there.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fun things are when the neighbors find out who I am and the stuff that we do as far as the paranormal goes. All of a sudden, they all have stories of things that have happened in that area. One house right across from me, in fact, who has gotten to be very close friends of ours, she sent me a picture one morning. She said, Brad, do you have any idea what this is? She woke up one night and there's this amazing, almost star-shaped object in the sky, super bright. Not a drone, not a plane. She said it really made no noise, but it just hung there. She watched it for probably 5 minutes and then it was gone. So
Huh.
we do have weird experiences around there. The Sasquatch name didn't come from any run-ins with Bigfoot down there, although if we
Yet.
drink enough, we tend to wander off into the woods. So we might be mistaken ourselves, but yeah, no, that is pure UP heaven to me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know living in New England, we get some tough winters too, although I think you won this year. Would you get 14 feet of snow?
It was
Just
stupid.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think
nasty.
I think we ended up about 18, 19 feet for the winter this year.
that is a whole other level. But when you get winters like that, when you really can't go anywhere or do much, right? Like you hibernate and you share stories. Like
Mhm.
I would love to be a barfly, especially in the winter, when it's like dead of winter and do people come up to you and go, "Okay, I got one for you." I was right.
Pretty
Does
much.
that happen?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. We're kind of at that point, I guess, where we're old enough, but we're both established business people in our community. So
Right.
there's that line, I think, where some people, you hear people out telling the stories of their ghostly experiences and all, and sometimes you get poo-pooed. But we get local, actually, you know, other business people, local politicians, people in the know around here that will share their stories with us because we are fairly well known in the community.
So, for those who don't know, Tim Ellis is the voice of the Sioux. He's the radio guy, the morning guy forever. And Brad, you've got your shop there right in town. A lot of tourists come through the area.
Yes.
So you remember Ghost Hunters, right? They had Jason and Grant had the TAPS headquarters at this little storefront in like Warwick, Rhode Island.
Mm.
I picture yours is just a bar full of
More or
people,
less.
and you're like in a corner somewhere, just
Yes, we're in the corner booth. Yes.
right.
People know where to find us.
Right. It's just if you've got a story and if you can find them, maybe you can, talk to
Yeah.
Brad and Tim.
It's like
Uh,
you're here. It's like you're
yeah, I love that. So when you
Be
guys were
prepared to
growing
buy
up,
around.
here.
yeah, well, of course, that's how you get access, right? That's how you get
Right.
access to VIP. So when you guys are growing up, 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
2000s, did you have any zines in your life?
No, I didn't.
I mean, what I like about this, Jeff, what I love about what you're doing is it reminds me though of Brad it was a much bigger comic book collector than I was. He collected all the Marvel and all the superheroes, but I collected the old Vault of Horror and the old Witch and those, and I've still got those. So that was something along those lines. And that's what this is bringing me back to, and that's what I love about what
Yeah.
you're doing because it's really kind of a throwback in such a great way that I'm really enjoying it.
Well, thank you. And well, you guys are authors in your own right. You've got books together. Brad, you've got one on your own, right? And it's fun because I'm not aware of like a vehicle like it, right? Like it's not a
No.
comic book, but it's not a magazine, but it's not a book. It's right. It's like it's its own sort of magical thing, and each one, well, you're actually the first issue to have two authors, the both of you. So, but I love it, and so far the response has been great. People have been buying them up. It's only been on sale for a week so far, but people have been buying them up, and I love that we can showcase not just different voices, but different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And so you guys took us up to Michigan. And when you've got remote areas like remote, but not remote, you know what I mean? You can get there, right? You can get
Mhm.
there by boat, by plane, you can drive there, whatever.
But it's
Um,
going to take time.
but it's good. It's you have to want to go.
Yes.
You're not gonna just like pass by and be like, oh, like the UP is not a place you pass by. You want to go
Yeah.
there.
No, we are surrounded by three of the Great Lakes, so you can really say we are in the heart of the Great Lakes region.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you covered the Kinross incident. That's one of my favorite UFO stories.
Amazing.
And it's right in our backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tim wrote that one, but it's one of those stories where because there's military planes involved, everything is checked and double checked.
Mhm.
Military planes aren't supposed to disappear,
No.
right? Not you're supposed to get a viable, oh, there was an accident, there was a mishap, pilot ejected something, anything, right? But to tell you nothing,
And
um,
the fact that still today we have two
Missing pilots.
American soldiers that are MIA.
yeah.
I mean that's a pretty powerful moment there.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
and why that, when it comes to UFO stories, I know for us, I think is it fair to say like ghosts are more our wheelhouse, right? Like, I mean,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, but then you go down the rabbit hole, you don't stop,
Right.
right? You get interested
Mhm.
in other things as well, but UFO stories, I always try to put my head into the head of the visitor, right? Like, why would they come there? On the one hand, you guys are right on the Canadian border. I mean, literally, you could almost throw a rock across the
Yeah.
river into
Yeah.
Canada, right? I mean, I've had dinner with you guys where you look across the river and that's Canada. Like
Right.
it's
Mhm.
you could swim it. It's easy, right? So okay, you're on the border of two countries, although what UFO would know that if they're from another planet, right? That's just a line. What's up there, right? You've got the Great Lakes, these mini seas, you've got the Soo Locks where the shipping lanes come through. Um,
The
what else?
the interesting thing about that story and the path that the two crafts were following is literally heading right to, and we don't touch on it in the zine, but we do in one of our other books and in a lot of the talks we give, is there's this thing under Lake Superior that's called the Lake Superior anomaly. And it's so deep that they've never really been able to dive to it, but it's this hub of weird activity
Yeah.
and a lot of USO and UFO sightings around it to the point where some have even theorized and speculated that could it be an underwater base. It was found by Google Earth when they were doing the maps.
Hmm.
No one knew it was there until Google Earth caught a picture of it. And there's actually something very much like it right off the coast of
Malibu, I
Malibu
believe.
Right.
that was also found by Google Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this unidentified object that the fighter jet was chasing was heading in that exact direction. And this is an area there have been mermaid sightings before, right in this region. There have been other UFOs that have been
Many.
seen right in that same area. So there's is 100% speculation right now. Could it be a natural form? I mean, it's 2 miles by 3 miles long at the bottom of Lake Superior. The walls are about 500 feet high. Um, Say it's something that until somebody can put money out there and send a sub down to research it, we're never going to know. It's all going to be speculation up until that point.
Yeah, I've always said Mother Nature can create some pretty unique and beautiful things, but she's usually not uniform. like this.
Right. It's more chaotic. It's not, yeah, it's not
Yes.
squares and yeah. No, I get it. I totally
And
get it.
walls that are the same size all the way around. I mean, that's pretty unique.
Those mystery, right? This is where we earn our livings, right? The mysteries, right? This the unknown. And you start saying, well, who built it? Why? Why is it here? How old is it? Is there a story before the story? Is there a prequel before the prequel? And
Right.
I love that. And you guys, you do such a great job of taking us through some of those various stories. What's a haunt? What's like a haunt you guys keep coming back to up there in the UP?
Bar or just a regular location?
No, that we understand the bar culture. That's been covered.
There are some haunted bars that we like to hang out
Yes,
at.
there is.
I
Right.
think our favorite still to this day, as far as places that we've investigated time and time again and had what we consider unexplainable activity at, would be Seshwa Point Lighthouse, for one, which is on the belly of the UP. It's right at the top of Lake Michigan. Uh, that one, why don't you hit on
Yeah,
some
for
of that
sure.
activity?
It really is. We call it our Disneyland because it's one of those locations that every time we go to, we're leaving with something we can't fully explain away or give a natural reason to why this happened. The biggest thing that ever happened to us there was probably one of the most prominent things that ever happened to our team as a team in the field investigating. And so Captain Willie Townsend is the number one ghost there. It's said to be haunted by multiple spirits, but Captain Townsend was one of the light keepers. He's the most famous one there. You can smell cigar smoke throughout the lighthouse these days, but when he was alive, his wife never allowed him to smoke in the lighthouse. He always had to go to the porch. But now when you're inside, you can smell the cigar smoke. And so we're there. It was the second or third time we were there to investigate, and we had the whole place to ourselves. The Historical Society, we've become great friends with them. They just give us the run of the place, which is amazing. And we had our all of our gear set up inside. And we're like, all right, the night's just beginning. Let's go out into the parking lot. We'll all light up a cigar for Captain Townsend in his honor and thank him for letting us be, kind of thing. So we're all out there in this parking lot area, and we're looking at three windows on the side of the building. One is what would have been the workers or the servants' kitchen, then the formal dining room, then the family kitchen are the windows you were looking at. And we're sitting there, and myself and Matt Barr, another team member of ours, just happened to be looking at the windows. At the time, we see a full on, I don't know if you want to call it a shadow figure, but it was dark. You couldn't make out any features, but it was a human size that moved from what would have been the servant's kitchen across the window. And Matt was behind me. I didn't know Matt was looking at the window. And he says, "Did you just see that?" I said, "Absolutely, I did." And as soon as we started talking, the rest of the team was like, "What did you guys just see?" And we told them. And this figure was moving towards the formal dining room window, which had curtains closed. And as all eight of us are sitting there looking at this window, the curtain pulls back on its own, as though someone was in there pulling back and looking out at us.
Hmm.
And it held there for probably a good 2, 3 seconds. It was there for a moment and then just slowly shut. It wasn't a wind, and nothing caught it to blow it. This was only one part of the curtain was pulled back, held there, and then released. And for to have a moment like that where the entire team witnessed it
Mhm.
is pretty special. You don't get that a lot.
Yeah.
And it was pretty powerful.
And being consummate professionals, it went something like, "Holy shit, did you just see that? We got to go in there. I'm not going in there. You go in.
Yeah.
Screw this."
Yeah. But
That's what
well, and
people
that's
don't.
just it. So we're all freaking out like it's Christmas morning. We're like, oh my,
Yeah.
expletives being thrown everywhere. And then all of a sudden we're like, shit, we got to get in there. So myself and Steve Oplan are the first ones around to the front door to get in. And we're asked quite often, do you guys ever get so scared that you've ever wanted to quit doing this? And the answer is no. But I do remember this being that one moment where I'm reaching for the doorknob and like my adrenaline was like in a way it never had been before. And I just remember thinking to myself, why the hell do we do this to ourselves? And we opened up the front door and we didn't see anything, but we were blasted in the face with that. Think of the cheap lilac perfumes that your grandma or great grandmother used to wear. It was
Yeah.
really powerful and right in our face. And that was actually one of the stories, along with the cigar smoke with Captain Townsend. There's a female spirit there that is associated with this really heavy, almost obnoxious lilac smell. And we were blasted in the face with that as soon as we opened the door. And that was, yeah, just another moment that went into this overall moment that was pretty powerful for us.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Brad, tell me about your obsession with Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah. So I was in college, and I remember one year it was going into Christmas break, and I thought, I always heard so much growing up about Hemingway's time in northern Michigan. What an amazing author he was, and how the North Country really shaped him as a writer. But I never read anything, and I'm a pretty voracious reader in the winter months, especially when we have all the snow and we're in the house a lot more. So I picked up a couple of his books, the Nick Adams stories, which is a compilation of short stories that most of which are actually based in northern Michigan, and The Old Man and the Sea. And I read both of those within like 2 or 3 days, and I was just enamored. And I started reading more and more on Hemingway. And then I started digging into the background of the man. So I found his writing to be just very unique, very fascinating, and started to put together pieces of what a character he was. I mean, he just, if you sat and told the story of Hemingway's life right now, nobody would believe you because nobody could do everything he did in one lifetime. He
Yeah.
lived all around the world. He traveled the world so many times. He went on multiple safaris in Africa. He was just such an amazing figure that I really got hooked on him. He's been my favorite author for years and years. And being where we are in the paranormal field, I thought, man, is there anything in Hemingway's background that has this kind of connection to the paranormal, to the supernatural? And he was a very superstitious man. He always carried something in his pocket, be it a nut or a lucky stone or a rabbit's foot. He always had to have something of a good luck charm with him. So I kind of started with that and started unraveling some other stories. And it was kind of fascinating. I started on a project that was going to be I thought maybe a magazine article at some point on haunted Hemingway. And what we ended up doing, Tim, myself, Dustin Perry, and David Sloan did a little Key West event last winter. And if you know anything about Hemingway, he spent a good 10 years in Key West. He wrote some of his most prominent works there. So Sloan said to me, could you do something on a haunted Hemingway story for Key West? And I'm like, absolutely. Let me redirect this and kind of base it. So, yeah, I got into possible Hemingway ghost sightings, different superstitious aspects of his life and where he lived and grew up. And said a big, big part of that is based right here in northern Michigan.
Yeah, that's really cool. And, we talk about what makes a place haunted and why. And I mean, a ghost, I think the simplest definition is it's a connection, right? It's a connection to the past. And a guy like Hemingway who lived everywhere and was influenced by everywhere, I guess he could haunt everywhere, right? Like no rules to it, right?
Yeah, no, I talked a little bit about it in the zine. I was at a Hemingway writers conference, and I was having a cigar and throwing back a couple pints with his grandson. And we got talking a little bit in the ghost thing. Everybody there knew I was the paranormal author of this group of about 25, 26 people. And he didn't, yeah, he kind of brushed it off and poo-pooed it a bit. And then we got talking a little more, and he said, well, I have this friend in Texas who has these psychic visions, though. He's like, yeah, I guess something could be there around the whole ghost and haunting thing. And I said, well, where do you think your grandfather would haunt? And he looked at me and said, well, he'd have to be in Ketchum, Idaho, where he killed himself. I
Hmm.
said, I don't think so. I said, that's not really my understanding of why a ghost haunts someplace. Sure, you get these, yeah, events, I guess, call it what you will, that some people believe hold a spirit in a place. But I said, he loved northern Michigan so much. And the question came up to him when he was older, towards the end of his life, why didn't you return there after you became a prominent author and he went away to war, came back, he recouped in northern Michigan? I said, why did you never return? And he said, it was the most perfect part of my life. And I'm afraid going back now might ruin those memories because
Mm.
things aren't going to be the same. Everything evolves. The area that he grew up with changed. Ironically, the Hemingways loved coming up to Walloon Lake in northern Michigan to get away from their life outside of Chicago. They lived in Oak Park, just outside Chicago. His dad was a doctor. They had a very hectic lifestyle during the winter months until they could leave for the summer months when the kids were out of school and spend their time at Walloon Lake. Ironically, they loved it because of how desolate it was around there. There were still Indian camps around the area. Because of the Hemingway connection, that area is built up so much now. You have a lot of prominent high dollar business people that own properties around the lake, and it's become some of the most expensive property per square foot in the state of Michigan.
Hmm.
And a lot of that goes back to Hemingway, who say would go up there to get away from this type of a crowd.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too, like if you think about like where you guys are, so many people have come and gone. They've come there for escapes, for summers, for getaways, for whatever. But then you're also in the middle of, like you said, three Great Lakes, the three largest bodies of water that aren't salt water, right? You know, in the world, and major shipping lanes and everything else, and so much transient activity for millennia, like
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of years. So many layers to peel back,
Very popular hiding area for the mob back in the day too, up in the Upper Peninsula.
Mhm.
Big connections up here for that,
well, they'd never find you.
right?
No, no. John Dillinger, he hid out for a brief period of time here in Sault Ste. Marie. It's a story fairly well known to the locals, but I don't think much outside of that. One of his head guys in his group, his sister lived in Sault Ste. Marie. So when he was public enemy number one. The FBI was out hot on his tail. They took off and came up to Sault Ste. Marie and spent some time. And then word started getting around town, and people kind of figured out who he was. So he took off and made it down to the lower peninsula right before the FBI showed up to come and bust him here in the Sioux. So this was, I believe, within a couple of years of when he got shot down in Chicago.
The people in the Sioux were like, none of my business.
Yeah.
Yeah, he pays his bar tab. We're good with him.
Yeah, take note, criminals. They won't bother you. I love that. I love that. Very cool. So, well, it's called Monsters, Ghosts, and UFOs of the Great Lakes. There it is. You
That's a
guys
mouthful.
are number five, which is crazy. This like crazy idea, and suddenly like we've got five of them. So it's been pretty awesome.
I love the concept, Jeff, of like having different authors each month. And as you said, it's going to take us on a journey wherever that author's from. Do you, without obviously being able to say names, do you already have the calendar year figured out on who you're asking?
I try not to get, I need to get a little bit ahead just for
Yeah.
my own planning purposes, but I try not to get too far because, I want to have the flexibility to be like, oh man, something just popped up and I want to be able to get to it fast. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? If I've scheduled the next 12, what if like some breaking paranormal news, like something groundbreaking is uncovered in Chicago, right? I want to have the flexibility to be like, all right, that's going to be the next zine, so we can be sort of timely. But I also want them to be timeless because, like a comic
Right.
book, it doesn't have to be read this month or next month or whatever. One cool thing too is yours was the first one. I tell you now, if you look at the very bottom of the inside cover, it says first printing at the bottom. From now
Yeah.
on, it's going to say that first printing, but it's
Oh,
also going
okay.
to say
Yeah.
second printing, and so on, right? So as these things sell out and I print more, I might change the cover or whatever, just like they do with comic books. We'll have second printings or whatever. So I've already found people who are collecting them, and I'm already having people that like buy two, like read one and like save one,
Save one.
which
Perfect.
yeah, which is great. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is whatever you want to do. So it's kind of cool that people are wanting to get the first editions. So if
Right.
you're a collector, if you have any of issue one, two, three, or four, if it doesn't say anything, then you know it's a first printing because when they get reprinted, it will say second printing from now on, and then going forward, it's going to say first printing or second or whatever. So
Okay.
so yeah, no, it's been sort of cool to create this thing because like I don't know, man, we're going back underground. The
Yeah.
shows are ending, and it's just been a wild time, but people still love this subject, even if they can't get it on TV anymore.
Well, and I really appreciate that you put our issue out following Greg Lawson's because it makes ours seem so much better.
Wow. Greg's not watching this. Don't know. He is watching this. You know, he was looking for his shout out. And there it was.
Greg's a big fan of mine, so I know he'll be tuning in. So
He's yeah, Greg's great and I love it. I love the different voices. So I appreciate you guys being part of this little adventure that we're doing. And you know, who knows? I'm sure we'll come around again. You know, like it's not, you know, we're gonna repeat some authors down the road and just keep doing different stories. So that's the idea.
we might need a whole Youper issue.
A Youper issue, just
A
the
whole
Youper.
Youper issue.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for getting us through this one
Absolutely.
and
Well,
for
this is
all
a
the
lot of fun
friendship.
to write.
It was a ton of fun. You know, a lot of these stories we already had the groundwork laid out because we've been talking about them in presentations and whatnot. So to be able to finally put it down in this format was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and there are quite a few of those we've never written in any other publication before,
Right.
or any of our books. Some of them were fresh stories. So
I love that. And the other thing too is that, you know, I mean, I've got this lecture idea and I could get a zine and then like, because, you know, I've done lectures for you guys. I remember doing a time travel talk years
Mhm.
ago at one of the MI Paracons. And someone came up after and goes, "Do you have a book on this? Do you have something I can buy right now?" And I went, "No, I don't. I just," and I was mad at myself, you know, but I'm like, I could do a zine on that, you know, and that's, you know, the idea is like these zines are quickly produced and we can get stories out, you know, fast and, you know, like we said, not quite books, not quite, you know, they're not magazines full of all kinds of various writers. They're like one or in this case two voices.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm excited to see where it goes and already working on the sixth one right now. So
Awesome.
we
Think
are
you're onto something, sir. I
we're
think you're
plugging
on.
away. Hey, here's hoping, but appreciate you guys being part of this one. And yeah, issue 5 on sale now on our website and in Brad's store. Are they
Mhm.
selling at the store?
we are selling them at Great Lakes Gifts in Sault Ste. Marie and Indian Village Gifts in St. Ignace.
Wow.
And they are
Nice.
selling, believe it or not.
I I do. That's awesome. Are people just like, what is this? Right? Like, that's cool. Well, hey, it's a zine, man. I love it. I love it.
For $10, you can't beat it.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Well, hey guys, thank you. Please have 6 beers for me this evening, if you wouldn't mind.
I think we did that last night. I think we're going to take a break tonight.
Fair enough. And
Are we? I don't know.
My wife
or not, right?
Well, you never know.
Or you keep going. So
Yeah.
To be continued.
Yes.
good stuff. All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.